It's getting too cluttered.
Yeah. Now, the Wii U is finally starting to see some games that set it apart, and one such game is the wonderful 101.
Aliens have invaded. Across the planet, 100 heroes, known collectively as the Wonderful 100, have answered the call to save humanity.
You may be wondering, if the game's called the Wonderful 101, why are there only 100 heroes?
Well, Darren, I think the game can do a better job explaining that than we can.
The alien invasion of Earth will be met by a group of fearless warriors that number just 100 souls. They are the Wonderful 101! I knew we forgot someone. You.
This cheesy intro sets the tone for the entire game. It has a really strong sense of humour throughout, even in the music. While this game draws a lot of inspiration from anime and cartoons, it is very much a parody of 60s sci-fi like Thunderbirds, which your grown-ups may remember.
Speaking of inspiration, seeing this game in action, you can't help but be reminded of the Pikmin series. You recruit and control a horde of little minions which follow you around like a swarm. You use these little followers to help solve puzzles and fight big baddies.
This game is bright and bursting with colour and has a glossy cartoony style too. This lends itself to some pretty spectacular environments. But that's about where the similarities to Pikmin ends.
Yes, this game is about action, action, and more action. Then some puzzles, and then back to the action again. Each level has a very similar structure. After moving between pockets of enemies and a simple puzzle or two, you'll come across a minor boss fight. Eventually, you'll encounter the major boss fight for the mission, which is typically some form of jaw-dropping battle on a tremendous scale. While this formula gets a bit repetitive, the relentless pace and the desire to see which crazy set piece will come next just keeps you playing.
Affirmative. And that's because the combat is so interesting. Your arsenal is comprised of something called Unite Morphs, which mold your followers into shiny weapons. Each of these 7 major heroes has a unique morph which is activated by drawing their corresponding symbol, either with the right thumbstick, or by drawing it on the touch screen. The more followers that go into the formation of the weapon, the more powerful it becomes! It's a strange concept, but you just grow to accept it.
I really like the touchscreen here. It's good for fast, on-the-fly changes in battle. Some enemies need to be taken down by specific heroes. This guy's spikes, for example, need to be ripped off with Wonder Pink's whip before he can be damaged.
Bad boy, time for a little punishment.
Aside from your major weapons, you can also launch your loyal followers at an enemy. They'll latch onto enemies and pick away at their health, which I guess is kind of a bit like Pikmin as well.
The fast pace of the game is helped by how forgiving the deaths are. When you die, you can continue from exactly where you were defeated. Enemies have the same amount of health when you died, so you continue on as if nothing happened. In fact, the only penalty is that you'll take a hit to your score for the mission.
Yes, and at the end of each operation, you're given a rank based on how efficiently you made it through the level. The better you do, the more credits you will earn. These points can then be spent on power-ups, new abilities, and delicious cakes and soups to restore health and power.
I thought it was interesting that some of the purchasable abilities were essential if you wanted to take out some enemies quickly. For example, the block and reflect ability is the only way to take out these standard tank units without a tediously long battle involving multiple deaths. I just felt like the necessity of those abilities should have been stressed a bit more.
Affirmative, but once you've fleshed out your abilities, it makes for some really fluid combat, and the control system shines. I actually think it's some of the best use of the gamepad we've seen on the Wii U. There are some really superb ideas.
I really liked the multi-screen action. In some circumstances, you'll need to concentrate on the action on both the main screen and the gamepad. It sounds challenging, but they've actually balanced the complexity of the tasks just right, so that it's chaotic, but not frustratingly difficult.
Yeah, I agree the ideas were great, but unfortunately the hardware lets the ideas down. On a number of occasions, we experienced frame rate issues on the pad. We also encountered input issues with the touchscreen. For the most part, it's pretty good, but it misinterpreted our drawings enough for it to become frustrating.
Affirmative. It's a shame because when it works, it's a great system. It almost makes QuickTime events fun. There's a cooperative multiplayer mode which allows up to 5 players. In typical Nintendo style, it's local multiplayer only, so you'll need some family members or visiting friends if you want to bash aliens cooperatively.
Yes, having said all that though, even with this game's issues, it's still one of the better Wii U games out there, and I think it deserves 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I agree with you, Budge. I'm giving it 8 as well.